Yeah, we're gonna rank the legends in Apex Legends based on the Winter Express patch. So we're just gonna go in order however they're laid out. I think these are fine. I think all of the legends are pretty viable, so there's not really like an F tier. I mean, Rampart's probably lower, but I don't want to skip ahead. Okay. So this is just my opinion too. I mean, whatever my hard stuck diamond opinion means to you guys, this is what we'll do real quick. All right, so first up is Bangalore. So Bangalore, I feel like is like pretty decent. Her passive is really nice for gunfights. Lets you maneuver quickly. You can make corners you normally wouldn't make. You can get a quick heal, which like effectively gives you an extra second to heal. You get around the corner and you heal like a little bit faster. It's like net loss, right? So like you don't heal faster, but you get an extra second to heal because if you're running, you make the corner. Her smokes are really good as long as you don't mess up your teammates with them too bad. I think the best Bangalores are the ones that position themselves in such a way that when they use their smokes, they don't screw over their teammates. And then her ultimate is still a bit lackluster, but it is good in what the devs wanted it to be. Like the devs don't want it to be like a Call of Duty airstrike, right? Like they've said from the beginning they want her ultimate to be like something you can use as cover to push up on, and now that it detonates earlier, it's actually really good at doing that because you can throw it out, it detonates super fast, and yeah, I mean that's basically it. I think I would definitely put Bangalore. We talked about it a little bit before we started recording, but I think Bangalore's a solid A tier hero. Bloodhound's super good. Bloodhound, his passive, like being able to track people, is like kind of nice. It's nice for pubs for sure, like when you're W king just to find people. It's pretty good in that regard for rank too. Like if you're looking for a team to fight to get that early KP, and you're really close and you guys are kitted as fuck, like you just roll up, you find the squad, you take the fight. His scan is super good. I mean, obviously, like who doesn't want walls in a gun game? Like his scan is almost too good just because of the range. And especially the way it ties into his ultimate. Like his ultimate, the move speed's really good for strafing. It's like it makes him kind of hard to hit, which is good because he's a bigger hero. But yeah. So I would say Bloodhound's definitely S tier. He could even probably, like, don't eat me Bloodhound mains, but he could probably use a little bit of a nerf because originally they wanted the scan to be like check the town, make sure nobody's there that can go surprise you, and then you can play accordingly. But now the way they've tied it into his ultimate, it kind of seems like it's more, they want it to be more combat-y if his ult is up. So maybe they could like reduce the range of the Q when the ult's up or something like that, so it's not like the entire area, but that's just my opinion. Okay, next up, Caustic. Caustic, really solid. I mean, the fact that you don't get Pain Punch and the reduction on damage is good enough by itself, honestly. But his gas barrels are super annoying if you know how to put them up correctly. I think I'm gonna put Caustic in A tier. I don't think he's S tier. And the reason I put him in A tier with Bangalore is because they're kind of this, in my opinion, they're kind of the same mentality, right? Like a Caustic that just yeets barrels in the middle of a gunfight and just dies because the barrel never goes off because he either gets shot out of the air or the Caustic just dies while he's throwing his barrel instead of shooting his gun. Like it's a higher skill cap hero. But when you learn how to play him really well, I feel like he's definitely A tier. He's like, because he's a bigger hero, I don't know if he's super like S tier competitive. He's very close though. Like if there was like an A plus tier, I'd probably move him there. I think he's slightly better than Bangalore in that regard. And it also, he's really good for like a competitive aspect because you could just kind of hold down whatever you want with your gas. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about Caustic. His ult's great, his canisters are great. He doesn't really have a passive. I mean, I guess his passive is that he doesn't get like affected by his own gas and he can see people in gas, which is like, it's fine because the rest of his kit is really strong, you know what I mean? Okay. Next up we have Crypto. I think Crypto is like, Crypto's really hard to rate because he's one of those heroes that I feel like excels in a competitive environment, but he kind of sucks in like a kill race, like a kill racy or like a just pub stomping environment, because he's a very utility based hero. And then it's not really Crypto's fault as much as like he's one of those heroes that the people you're playing with need to know how to play with Crypto. And I feel like he requires a lot of communication to set up his kit. Because like ideally you don't want to EMP your teammates because it slows them again, which is a good change. They needed that because of the old TSM strat where you would just like Revenant, EMP, and Wraith portal and just dominate everyone. I think I would put Crypto at B tier just because like it's a lot of his kit's like a lot of utility, which is really great for competitive, but like I feel like it's really hard. Like it's like he's really hard to rate. I guess I should clarify. Like I think I'm gonna clarify this as like just a general gameplay category for these heroes. Because like if we talk competitive, I think Crypto is probably A tier, if not S tier. Because being able to hit the beacons, the EMP for the free Evo charge, unless the teams are like are smart and they drop the armor, or if you just use your EMP correctly, like I think it's like he's really solid. But like he's not crazy. Like the fact that you have to be in your drone and you're completely like damageless in your drone, there's probably a better way to say that in English, but you know, we're going with it. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about that. Okay. Yeah, so Crypto, solid hero, not something I would take generally. I would pick him in like a competitive environment or in a 3-stack environment. But yeah. Gibby, super good. I'm putting Gibby in S tier and here's why. So Gibby has a lot of things going for him. The dome has literally every utility you could possibly imagine. Like blocks damage, your entire team heals faster inside the dome, right? Your dome is like yeetable. Like you could just chuck it and just boom, gone. The ultimate is super good defensively and aggressively. It's like super nice for like pushing. It's super nice for keeping pushes off. And then the really impactful thing about Gibby's kit is his gun shield plus passive. Like with his fortified passive and his gun shield together, with a like purple shield or red shield, he effectively has like 400 health. He's like impossible to move in a 1v1 unless you're hitting headies and not hitting the gun shield. Like it's insane. He's just super strong, super solid hero. Really the only thing you have to learn on him skill wise is like how to play certain gun kits, because like you can't be in someone's face because you are a large target, and against a good player, if you're in someone's face, they're just gonna like own you down with like an R9 or a Volt or a Mastiff, unless you have one of those guns and you know how to play at close range. Like, because you have to make use of the gun shield to win trades. That's basically the gimmick. But he's S tier. I think pretty much anybody can pick up this hero, be really good with him as long as they ADS properly and play their positioning well. Horizon. So Horizon's really interesting to me because I think, honestly, I feel like Horizon's a little, like she's really strong, but I don't think she's S tier. Like her passive is pretty nice, and it makes sense because like you don't want someone to get like stunned every time they use their Q, right? It makes sense it's in her kit. Honestly, I think her passive should be shared with Octane. Like Octane could use that passive as well, and it would make sense, like, you know, just lore wise, because Octane has fake legs. But we're not talking about that right now. Let's stick to Horizon. So I think I personally would put Horizon at A tier because it's really hard to pull off a Horizon ult that either one impacts the fight to where you just straight up win, or doesn't get destroyed immediately. It's the ult. When I played her, I put like maybe 500, 600 kills on her at the start of the season, which isn't a lot. I'm not like trying to brag, but like that just telling you like how much I played. From what I've played, it feels more like kind of the mentality when you play like Zarya, if there's any Overwatch players in here. It's better to just like land the ult on one person that you can guarantee the kill on, because you get that initial pull, because the initial pull on the ulti is super strong, and then it kind of weakens out. Like you can kind of sprint out of it, or just destroy the ulti. but you can pull someone out of cover, and if you can beam them in time, like, it's really good. Her Q, obviously, super good mobility. Any character with mobility is going to be A or S tier. That's just Apex Legends. Mobility is really, really good in this game. I mean, you can notice like 3 of the 5 people I've already placed here have mobility. Horizon has mobility, Bangalore has mobility, and Bloodhound has mobility. Like, and we're not even at like some of the crazier heroes yet. But yeah, I think super good, super good. Not really S tier. I don't think she needs any tuning. I think if anything, give her low profile, because she's pretty hard to hit when she's in her queue, or just make it so you just can't move around in the queue as fast, like while you're like strafing, AD strafing. But I think honestly, she's probably the most balanced hero that's came out like on release, if that makes sense. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't change anything. If they give her low profile, I wouldn't be surprised either. All right, now we're on to Lifeline. So now we're gonna make Hizzo kind of mad with Lifeline, because I think Lifeline. I personally think Lifeline is S tier, but it's very dependent. I'm gonna put her in A tier because here's why. So let me go through her kit like I did with the others and then explain my thinking. So her passive, the tap res, super useful, super like good for resetting for third party, super good in combat. It like forces the enemy team to have to push you, and it puts the initiative on them, which you know what they're gonna do, so you're ready for them. Lifeline heal bot probably could use a lower cooldown, but it's super strong for resetting, and for 1v1s even, like, you can just pop it and you effectively heal faster in that sense, because while you're healing health, you can pop like shield cells, pop batteries, that kind of thing. And her ultimate's probably the worst thing about her kit. Like, it's great for cover. They did buff it like last season. I don't think it was this season, right? It was last season. They made it so like you get more stuff, more heals out of it, more attachments, that kind of thing. I wish they made her ultimate a little stronger, whether it's like you can call it in more often, or you can choose like certain thing, or like if it has like a smart detection system. So like, for example, if you call in your ulti and no one on your team's running energy or a sniper, it's not going to call down like an energy mag or a sniper scope, something like that. Like, that would be really cool. I still think she's A tier just because of how powerful the res is. The only reason I hesitate to put her in S tier is because it's not as simple as just tapping the res. Obviously, if you're Lifeline, you prioritize that because it's like the strongest part of your kit. But when you tap the res, you have to be able to defend the res, or else you're just gonna get aped, because you are like stunned-ish for like a solid second when you tap the res. Like, your gun's not out. If somebody's right on you and you tap the res, they just kill you, and then they kill the person resing, or getting res, I should say. But I think she's solid A tier. Like, you can run her in pretty much any comp. Like, she's great for resetting, great for team fighting. It really comes down to like a skill-based usage of her like passive, and so that's why I'm putting her in A. All right, next, Loba. I think Loba is... I'm going to put Loba in B tier. So let's go through her kit again. So her kit, being able to see stuff through walls, like the gold and purple items, that's pretty garbage, honestly. It's like, I understand why they chose that to be your passive, because they want it to be like, oh, I see an item, it's really far away. Let me use my black market to yoink it real quick and use one of my 2 black market charges. Like, I get the idea. It's like the synergy's there. I just don't think it's good enough. Like, because like it's kind of the same as like crypto, right? Like the passive isn't useful in combat. It's good for like while you're moving around, but like if you're moving around and you see something, you can just go over and pick it up. You know what I mean? And like outside of like making her be able to see every gold and purple on the map, which would be super annoying as a Loba player, like it'd be just a lot of clutter. Yeah, I don't think it'd be that good. Her ultimate is a lot better now with the ammo. I actually really think her ultimate's in a solid place, because you can just yoink as much ammo as you want or need, as long as it's in the area. Being able to grab 2 of whatever is probably about as balanced as you want. Obviously people that run Loba probably want to see more, but I think it's pretty balanced. The big problem with her kit is her Q, because the Q takes her out of combat while it's traveling through the air. and it's really kind of just clunky to use in general because you throw it and then you're just stuck waiting, and the enemy knows you're throwing it and you have to commit to it. So they're either going to commit to where you're landing and kill you, or they can just push you and try to kill you before the Q goes off, depending on like what the position and situation is. She's just like they need to do something so she's not dead weight when she uses her Q. That's really all it is. Like they either need to make it like Sombra from Overwatch, where like you can throw it and then choose to take it or not, or I think they should make it so when she throws it, she still has to take the Q, but her gun comes back up. Like think like Lifeline, right? Like she taps the res and then she's stunned for like a second, her gun comes up. I think that would be good for Loba, because then you can just like kind of yeet your Q and then take a gunfight, and you end up queuing back. If they have to compensate the cooldown to justify it to themselves, I think that's fine, because I could see a world where like you run in as Loba, throw a Q back, your gun's out, and then while the Q's up in the air, you just take a trade, and then you just teleport out freely and just like heal up. Like I could see a world where that kind of sucks. So maybe they lower the or increase the cooldown on Q if they did something like that. But anyway, I think she's B tier because like it's just a high utility hero with like not enough like mobility, not enough useful mobility in my opinion. All right, so moving on, we go to Mirage. I think Mirage is really close to being A tier. I think like a good Mirage player is like someone that knows how to use Mirage and actually bamboozle people well is like pretty insane. Plus his passive is kind of like overlooked. Like being invisible when you res someone is no joke, as long as you're not like just doing it in someone's face because they just hear you or see your little hollow things. I think he's still B tier just because like they explained it in the patch notes, and I tend to agree. Like whenever they change Mirage, they always see an increase in win rate with Mirage at the start because people are learning how his new decoys work, and then as soon as they figure it out, his win rate starts dropping again because he's really predictable. So like maybe give him more options for like how to control the decoys or how the decoys behave. But he's a solid hero. Like he's not super competitive for sure, but he's a really solid hero in my opinion. Octane, I think I'm gonna put Octane in the same thing because it's like kind of the same thing as Mirage for me. Like his passive's fine, like it synergizes with his Q, being able to heal. It got buffed recently, which is pretty nice. It's decent for econing health if you can afford to do that. That's kind of scary to think about though, if you're on like 20 health and you're just letting your passive heal you, because it'll take you 80 seconds to heal it back up, which is like one circle. So like you're probably not using it like that. But like his movement's super sick. He's super fast. I kind of wish they made it so he can't get pain punched while his Q is active, or something like that. Because it's like it doesn't feel good to like hit your Q and then somebody shoots you and you're just kind of like stuck walking really fast. Like it feels bad. His jump pad's fun to use, but like it gets outshadowed by Horizon. We kind of talked about that earlier. But it has more horizontal to it, so like being able to like traverse around corners and shit, like if you take the jump pad and then bounce around a corner with the double jump, it's pretty good. Like I don't think he's a trash hero, I just don't think he's great, so I'm putting him in B. Pathfinder, I'm putting Pathfinder in S tier. Like I know everyone's memes that like Pathfinder grapple wah wah wah, and he didn't get much love with the recon class changes. But like I think Pathfinder's fine, honestly. His grapple's really fun to use. Like it just makes it so you can't like, you have to think about when you want to use grapple, or like how to play when your grapple's on cooldown is probably the more appropriate way to say it. Like I think he's a solid hero. He's good rotations. If you can get the survey beacon off, like the cooldown on your zipline is nice. Obviously Crypto's a little bit better at doing that, just because he doesn't have to be there. But yeah, I think Pathfinder's S tier just because high mobility, and his hitbox can be kind of hard to hit too, if like the player knows what they're doing, because it got changed a little bit. I would like to see low profile removed from Pathfinder, but I still think he's S tier because you could still like, the movement's insane. Like if you know how to use the grapple properly for disengage or engage, like it can set up a huge advantage in a fight. The zip line's nice for rotations. Like I think he's a solid hero. He's like, he could use some tweaks to put him more in line, but I think he's solid. I'm not worried about it. All right, on to Rampart. Rampart, I don't want to put Rampart in D, but like, because I don't think she's that bad, but like, she's on the cusp. I'm gonna put her in C. So here's my thinking on Rampart. Let's go through her abilities. So let's start with her walls, which is what you see more often. Her walls are kind of like bad, right? Like 400 damage on the bottom, 200 damage on the top. It's just bad. Like you need I think they're afraid to buff the walls because they know that if the walls get buffed too much, it's really hard to unroot her. But honestly, I think if with like some mechanical changes, it wouldn't be an issue. Like they could make it so like if a artillery strike or like any kind of explosive hits the walls, it breaks it. So like a grenade, Gibby ult, Bangalore ult, that kind of stuff. If anything like that hits it, or like EMPs, I don't think EMPs break the walls. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think they should. But anyway, like if they gave more mechanics like that, then it would just make other champions more viable. And I don't think it would be that big of an issue. Her turret is useless. Her ultimate, absolutely useless. Like, and honestly, it's only kind of useless because of how shit the walls are. Like, you could set your turret up in like a perfect positioning spot where you could see like the entire enemy team, there's no cover or whatever, but it doesn't matter because as soon as you start spinning it up and they see that laser, they're just gonna flick to you and you just get owned. Like there's no way around it. Like because if they're all shooting you, they just bust through the top part of the shield like instantly, and then like you just get headshot on your turret because you're not moving at all and you just die. Like I think her walls need to be buffed so that the turret is good. The one good thing about her kit, and the one thing that the only reason I'm not putting her in D tier is because I think her passive is really underrated. Like the amount of bullets you get in LMGs and the reload speed of the LMGs is insane, especially with how strong the Devo is, and even the Spitfire. Like the Spitfire is comparable to the Flatline in my opinion, but like nobody wants to run the heroes, so they don't like prioritize LMGs. To be fair, it is kind of feels bad, man, that you're like catered into that class, and like it feels bad to I mean, I guess I shouldn't say it feels bad to use the other guns because like the other guns are just as strong on any other hero, but like your advantage is given when you run LMGs, and that might just not be your playstyle. So that's kind of a feels bad, but yeah, basically if her walls were better, she'd be a better hero. That's really it. Okay, but that's my thoughts on Rampart. Probably the worst hero, needs the most love, but I think she's C tier. Watson, I think Watson, I mean, I'm not talking a purely competitive aspect, so I'm gonna put her in A tier. I think she would be S tier if this was like a competitive list, but you really don't see Watson anymore just because like it's hard to econ her pylon, like her ultimate. Unless you have a bunch of ulti excels because of the fact that it goes away. I think it's healthier for the game that it goes away. It's just kind of frustrating as the Watson player. The fences are fine. They've always been fine. They do what they're supposed to do. Her passive of holding 2 ult excels and getting a full charge from an ult excel is like whatever. I mean, it synergizes with her kit well. I think really solid hero, just not a whole lot of mobility. And honestly, she's kind of close to B. Like if there was an A-, I'd probably put her there just in a general sense, but competitive, she's sick. Like it's kind of the same as what I was saying for like crypto, is like in a competitive like game where you're playing comp or you're doing like 3v3s, really good hero. Wraith, obviously S tier. Like she's been S tier ever since she came out. No matter how much they change her, until they like give her a brand new ability, she's gonna be S tier. Like her passive is whatever. I mean, it's good knowing that someone's aiming at you, like especially if you're like out in the middle of nowhere and you don't know where any teams are. It's okay. Her Q is like insane. You use it correctly, you can rotate, you can like take a gunfight and then move to a new position safely. Her portal, really good for saving teammates, for engaging on an enemy team without giving up a position. Like just a solid hero all around. I shouldn't have to explain it. Anyone that's played Apex Legends knows Wraith is super good. Finally we're on Revenant. So with Revenant, I feel like Revenant isn't seeing a lot of play ever since the nerf to the Crypto Wraith Revenant combo. I think Revenant is actually pretty solid. I'm gonna put him on B tier, I think, because like his silence is super good. Like his silence is probably the best thing in his kit. His passive of being silent when he's like crouch walking or climbing is super good. Like if you're like a flank type player, like Revenant might be good for you, just because like you can climb up the wall, nobody knows you're there, get a kill, back out, or continue the fight, you know, depending on the situation. His totem is still kind of annoying, but I think if people have seen it enough, they know how to play around it. In certain scenarios, it's super annoying. Like he's very close to being A tier. Like he would definitely be like a B plus. He's like almost at A tier. Yeah, but I think that's my thoughts on Revenant. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think, and we can talk about it. Poggers.